Hello, I'm Ashley Bateman.
And I'm Kim Ragsdale.
And this is Renly. Welcome to
Two Counselors and a Dog.
We are the junior high and senior high counselors for Salem High School. And this is Renly, our resident therapy dog. We've decided to try something new this year and share information to our parents and guardians that we hope you will find beneficial.
We plan to have an episode each quarter in the school year over various topics. And today our topic addresses concerns with social media and what parents and guardians need to be aware of to keep their children safe. We hope you enjoy our presentation and find it helpful. So welcome to our first parent talk. And with this episode, we're going to discuss some things about social media.
While we were thinking of how we wanted to present social media use, we decided that we would actually poll our students here at Salem High School and see how much time they spent using social media, as well as what social media outlets and platforms that they used. So the first chart shows the apps that they use the most, and you can see that TikTok and Snapchat are by far the most used apps. Additionally, the pie chart shows how many hours per day our students say that they are on social media. More than 50% of our students say that they are using social media 3 to 9 hours a day. This is quite a bit. This is something that we want to be able to address with you as parents and with the students as we move forward. These are all of the social media platforms that we feel like the students use the most. This was what we included in our survey. So Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, Pinterest, TikTok, Be Real, X Messenger, Discord, YouTube, Locket, Reddit, Visco, and we included Roblox right there in the middle. It is not necessarily a social media platform, but it is a game that has chat rooms. So one of the things that I want to hit here the most are there are very specific things that all of these apps allow. Almost all of them allow other people who are not their friends to make contact with them. So they can either see their posts, they can comment on their posts, or they can direct message them in many of these apps. They don't have to be their friend. They can reach out to them without being their friend. So this means that they can have access to your child without being their friend. Also, most of these apps also allow your student to access inappropriate content. Several of these apps have public feeds that your student can access, and then they'll be able to see these things that you probably don't want them to see or may not be appropriate for them to see at this time. So I just wanted you to be aware of some of the dangers of some of these. There's also location settings on most of these apps that automatically default setting is for that app to share your child's location with their friends. And so this is something that I feel like can be very dangerous. And so we really need to make sure that we know each of the apps that our children are using and know if those location settings are set up to not show their location.
So the first thing that we want to discuss, obviously, are the dangers of social media. And I'm sure everyone has heard of the dangers and realized that there are potential dangers. But after looking over some statistics, it was pretty eye-opening when it comes to online predators. As a parent myself, even though my children are older, this is something that I was concerned about once my children started having their cell phones, their iPhones, and have apps coming down. And of course, my son with his PlayStation and who he was playing with. I wouldn't let him play with people that he did not know. He could only play with the friends that he knew and I knew, because it just opens up a gateway, if we're not careful, to some pretty scary people. So with the statistics that I found, and of course it says there, it's from the Child Crime Prevention and Safety Center, it stated that 500,000 active online predators are on social media every day. That is extremely high. And according to the FBI, over 50% of victims of online sexual exploitation are between the ages of 12 and 15 years of age. 89% of sexual advances directed towards children occur in the internet chat rooms or instant messaging. As a mom, that scares me that somebody that my child may not know is making sexual advances to them. And that just was very alarming. 40% of children remove privacy settings on social media in order to attract more friends and followers because, it's always important to them to make it look like they're popular. And so they will remove those privacy settings to open it up to anybody and everyone that wants to follow them. Some other stats from the Arkansas Attorney General's office was that 90% of sextortion is minors aged 13 to 17 years old, and their family income is of about 150,000 or less. So with sextortion, let me just give you a quick definition of what it is. It's a criminal act and a form of sexual exploitation. It involves coercing a minor using or threatening to use images, videos previously obtained to demand additional images and videos that are sexual in nature. So there are two types of sextortion. There is the traditional, which is typically targeted towards females, and it coerces the victims to send sexually explicit images to, whoever is wanting them. And then there's the financial, which is typically targeted toward boys, and that is trying to get the victims to send sexually explicit images in exchange for money or gift cards. Personally, I do know of someone who went through something like that, and thankfully they were able to stop that. They didn't actually get to the point of asking for money, but it was a little scary for that. So the psychology behind sextortion is having power and control over that person, wanting obviously the financial gain, the greed, getting that money, wanting to intimidate them. They use fear as a weapon to exploit. And then the culture, and I asked about that, what that means with the culture. And sadly, it's becoming part of the culture with social media, is being able to reach out to other people and demanding those inappropriate pictures and things like that to get what they want. So in Arkansas, from what I gathered with this, it said that in the year 2021, of course, we were just starting with COVID, that 139 victims, minor victims, reported sextortion. In the year of 2022, and now at this point, we've gone virtual. Schools have handed out Chromebooks and iPads to help during virtual learning during COVID. There was 10,731 sextortion reports. And then in 2023, that, which totally surprises me and scares me, doubled, nearly more than doubled, to 26,718 reports. So some other dangers to consider with the social media and the possible predators or people who are on there. Sometimes they will groom the young kids. And what that means is the predators may gain the trust of potential child victims and their caregivers by methodically grooming them. This is a process that begins with identifying potential victims. They gain their trust. And then once they've got their trust, they start to kind of break down their defenses. And then they start asking for inappropriate things, or they start wanting to meet them in situations like that. So these people will visit websites that are popular with young kids. We've all heard the stories about an adult will pretend to be the same age that they are to try to win the kids' trust. They'll compliment them, tell them, if it's a young girl, they'll tell them how pretty they are, they're beautiful, those kinds of things. They pretend to share the same interest and hobbies, anything that they can do to really gain the trust on their potential victim. Once a relationship has been established, the predator will then steer the conversation towards sex, and then they'll start asking for those pictures in possible meetings. The groomers are not always strangers like we tend to think sometimes. The groomer is someone that the child has met through family or friends. So that makes the child, want to trust that person more because they've met them, their family knows them, or, the situations like that. And the child may consider that the groomer is possibly their boyfriend or girlfriend, that they'll say that they're dating someone but they've never actually met them, but they talk to them all the time online. Which, parents, if you don't know about that, that is a huge thing for teenagers, especially younger teenagers, who claim that they have a boyfriend or girlfriend that they've never met in person, but because they've have this relationship, this online relationship. And again, to me, I find that very scary. So, some signs of grooming. Groomers often ask kids not to talk about their online contact with others. Don't tell your family, friends. Kids are spending an increasingly amount of time online. You may find that they are in their room all the time on their phones, games, iPads, Chromebooks, whatever. They become more secretive about what they're doing online. You may ask them, hey, who you talking to? What are you doing? They'll say nothing. They may even switch screens or close their tabs. When someone is close, a parent's close or whatever, so they can't see what they've been doing. They start even possibly using more explicit language that you wouldn't think that they would know, but that's because they've learned it from whoever it is they're talking to on the other side of the screen. And then they sometimes can become more emotionally volatile. So just some things to keep in mind. And of course, we all have heard of the cyberbullying, which cyberbullying is basically when someone sends, transmits, post something by electronic means. So that could be either on social media, texting, email, as long as it's through some type of electric means. And it can be something where um, they try to frighten the person, intimidate them, they threaten them, they can harass them, abuse, things like that. So something to know about cyberbullying as well is that as far as a school age student, if they are being bullied, cyberbullied at home in the evenings with something, and it's a repeated thing, and it's someone that they go to school with, and if it gets to the point that that is affecting the victim's learning at school during the school day, whoever is being the bully can get punished by the school for that because it's affecting their learning during the day. So that's just something to think about. Cyberbullying is also a Class B misdemeanor in Arkansas. So that means if you are guilty of it, you could possibly get $1,000 fine and some jail time. And a Class B misdemeanor is punishable up to 90 days in jail. So definitely something, a conversation to have with your children if they're being cyberbullied, to encourage them to report that, and always have a conversation with your child to not engage in cyberbullying.
So, one of the dangers that we don't usually think about or talk about, but is becoming more prevalent and more talked about, is the dangers of social media related to social emotional well-being in adolescence in particular. So during adolescence, this is a super critical time of development for their brain. This is a time whenever they're learning who they are, they're establishing their identity, and they rely heavily on peer connections and social situations and social connections to kind of develop who they are and who they want to be and the identity for themselves. Typically, this is done at school, in a school settings and social settings where we're face to face. Now, our students and our kids are starting to learn this. They're going through this time of development through social media, and it's having a major impact on their social emotional development and their well-being. So Research is saying that social media use is associated with depression and anxiety symptoms, increased internalizing as well as externalizing. So they're internalizing withdrawing, having some anxiety and depression symptomology, and externalizing. There's more outbursts and anger related to, in particular, with females, body image concerns and disordered eating, and excessive reassurance seeking. I have seen several of these in my office. I see this with girls in particular. The body image concerns, the internalizing, some anxiety, some depression. I see a lot of overthinking.
A lot of overthinking.
And I think some of that, I think it's all associated with social media use. Does this mean that social media use is causing these things? Not necessarily. I think there's going to be more research that comes out with more causation. Right now, we're saying that it's associated with, so there's a correlation. The excessive reassurance seeking, I think I've never thought about this before, but I've seen that more in the last probably 2-3 years, where I have students who need to be told that they're okay with a relationship, or like they're like, are you okay with me? Are we good? Or we're good, right? Like I told some students the other day that it's almost like we need a like button. We need somebody to be able to push our like button and say, yes, they constantly need reassurance because they get that constantly on social media. So that's one that I have never thought of, and that is research is showing that it is popping up. There is a program that is called Ruling Our Experiences, and they put out a survey, and they surveyed over 17,000 girls across the U.S. in grades 5th through 12th. And they found, they actually looked at a lot of things. I only pulled from the research this social media, things that they tied to social media. But they said that there's a relationship between confidence and social media use. They are saying that most 5th and 6th graders are spending 4 to 6 hours a day on social media. So this correlates. This is what we also found in ours, but we didn't take it down to 5th and 6th graders, but that's what we found in our high school students. And social media makes girls want to change their appearance. So I see this confidence. I definitely see the tie to confidence. Every year at the end of the year, I ask my 7th through 9th graders to complete a needs assessment where they kind of tell me like how I did this year with their lessons. And I ask them to tell me what they feel like future lessons should be about. And every year I've been at Salem, lack of self-confidence or getting better self-confidence is in like at least 40% of students say that they need self-confidence lessons. So I feel like it's fairly ironic that this study has come out and said that social media use is definitely tied to confidence in young girls. There is a video that is on this presentation. It is put out by the Dove Company. They have a lot of very awesome videos, honestly, and commercials that have to do with body image and how girls perceive themselves and their confidence. This video in particular deals with a young girl named Mary and the impact social media has on her. I don't feel like that I have time to play it with this presentation, but if you will be able, hopefully you'll be able to click on it and find it.
We can attach a link too.
Yes, we'll be able to attach a link so that you can watch it. It's very powerful. So having said all of these dangers of social media, we also want to tell you some things that can help protect your child on social media, because we don't want to say don't let your kid on social media, because it is a social environment and there are benefits to social media use. However, excessive social media use or the inappropriate content on social media can definitely be dangerous. So Ms. Raxon and also are reading a book and it's called The Anxious Generation. in the book, it says over and over again that we as parents overprotect in the real world and underprotect online. So this Be Smart is how to adequately protect your child online. So S is for setup, and whenever we say setup, we're talking about helping to create a safe and healthy environment from the get-go whenever your child gets a social media account. Whenever you need to make sure that you understand and use the parent controls, and that you know their logins and passwords. I'm big on knowing the password so that you can log on and you can kind of see what they're doing, especially if you're allowing 13 years and under to have some social media apps. So that you can kind of monitor, which is the second. You want to monitor their use, and who they're connecting with. Like I said, there are a ton of people who can reach out to your children online and through social media apps. So you definitely want to know who they're connecting with. I have students in my office all the time who say, my parents don't give me any privacy. And I'm like, well, parents kind of don't have to give you privacy when it comes to that, because you are still a child. And so your parents kind of get to monitor that. Whenever you also want to approve of the apps and games that you're allowing them to get on. So there's a ton of information on commonsense.org. Bark has some good information out there. Those are some websites that just put out information like that says what the benefits and the disadvantages and how easily predators can get to your children. So on some of those apps, so research the app, research the game, because this is the way I think of it. If you're going to allow your child to get on this app, who are they going to be exposed to and what are they going to be exposed to? Because we aren't going to let our 13-year-old go to a bar filled with 30 plus adults while they drink and talk and engage in all of these maybe inappropriate conversations. But sometimes they can also get into chat rooms with 30 plus adults and be exposed to that same inappropriate content. So be aware, and approve those, kind of look into that to see what they will be seeing. Restrict content and usage for sure. Know what content they have access to. They don't need to see a lot of things, especially at 13, because it's going to have a major impact on them and their usage for sure. How many hours they're spending a day on social media can definitely impact them from a social emotional standpoint, but it's going to also impact them from a sleep standpoint. We have a lot of students who are struggling with sleep for two reasons. They are on their phone, so they struggle to go to sleep. So because of the blue light and like the actual like cognitive brain is struggling to shut down. And then also because they can't stop looking at their phone. And so they're starting to struggle with not enough sleep. And sleep is so important during adolescence. Talk. Have conversations early and often with your children. Let them know the dangers. They need to know. I talk to 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Mr. Axel talks to the older students about the dangers of social media use. I think that they get tired of me talking to them about it. But talk to them. Let them know. Let them know that it's okay if they see something that they shouldn't, or that it's okay to block people. Let them know that they can come to you and ask questions. Let them know that this is a place that needs to be monitored, and that what they do online can impact them now and forever. So talk to them about digital citizenship and how to be a good online user. Let them know those things.
Can I just insert something real
Mm-hmm.
fast before you get off that slide? Back to where she was talking about the apps and the games. And I said a while ago that I never let my child talk to people on a game that they didn't know, or play on a game that with people he didn't know. I just encourage you to be sure that you have those conversations with your child on that, and also tell your child to never give out personal information while gaming in case they are talking to somebody that they are not familiar with, or agree to meet up with someone that they've met online gaming. And also, it's okay to set rules about, again, using the usage. It's okay to set rules about how long your child can play on a game or be on the iPhone or things like that. So, don't be afraid to say you only get 30 minutes. That's fine. And the passwords, I was talking with a parent yesterday and I found this interesting. She does not let her children they have Apple phones. She does not let her children have the Apple passwords, the Apple ID passwords. So if they want to download an app, they have to go to her to get the password. And so she has to look at the app and make sure it's not something that is going to be inappropriate or get them in trouble, or she just wants to make sure it's an okay app to be on. So I found that to be very wise, actually. So I commended her for that.
Our last slide is just a list of resources. They're all websites that you can go to that you can access to give you ideas on how to keep your kids safe online. These are useful and helpful, and at any time you can just go in there and do your own research and see what is best for you, your child, and your family.
All right. That's all that we have this time. We hope that maybe you found it beneficial, helpful. Again, research on these resources. Don't be afraid to look up there yourself and, find out information on these things. We just wanted to share some things that hopefully might help you to keep your child safe. And we hope you enjoyed it. And we will see you on the next Parent Talk.
Thank you.